teacup had a nick above the blue. A magnolia petal came and settled too. The linen had a crease from the morning before. A bicycle bell rang thin past the door. The chipped teacup under Magnolia stayed, a petal on the saucer, a quiet afternoon. Nothing needed grandeur, nothing asked to rise, only porcelain and linen under Copenhagen light. The kettle gave a whisper near the wooden bar. Butter on the pastry left its sweetness there. A folded paper waited by a silver spoon, and through the glass one magnolia bloom. Some things grow beautiful not by being whole. The chipped teacup under magnolia light, a petal on the saucer, paper white. Nothing asked for grandeur, nothing had to stay, only the cup, only the quiet day. Above the granite steps, Magnolia stood, pink and white bows against the stone. No ceremony brought them, only spring alone. A tram bell thinned behind the trees. Magnolia beside the museum steps made the gray stone seem less worn. Not by brightness, not by grandeur, only softness where the blooms were born. A woman with a coat passed near the gate. Pigeons crossed the pavement, small and late. The statues kept their shoulders to the sky, while passing coats went gently by. Some flowers make a public place feel private for a little while. Magnolia beside the museum steps stayed white above the cobblestone, and every gray thing near the building sat a little quieter than before. Above the granite steps, Magnolia stood, pink and white bows against the stone. No ceremony brought them, only spring alone. A tram bell thinned behind the trees. Magnolia beside the museum steps made the gray stone seem less worn. Not by brightness, not by grandeur, only softness where the blooms were born. A woman with a coat passed near the gate. Pigeons crossed the pavement, small and late. The statues kept their shoulders to the sky, while passing coats went gently by. Some flowers make a public place feel private for a little while. Magnolia beside the museum steps stayed white above the cobblestone, and every gray thing near the building sat a little quieter than before. Bicycle bells on the morning street came light across the stone, past the baker's opening window, past the blue door standing alone. Bicycle bells on the morning street, the city waking without much sound, just bread and glass and turning cobbles, and the small bells going round. A paper boy crossed the square with yesterday still underarm. The tea room curtain lifted gently, then returned to calm. A magnolia branch above the lane had opened while the night withdrew, and everything that crossed the morning left the gray stone looking new. Some cities wake so softly, the heart need not be told. Bicycle bells on the morning street grew thin and went away, and all the windows let the light in, and the city kept the day. The Botanical Garden at 4:30 held glass against the sky. Handwritten labels by the leaves, where the afternoon passed by. The greenhouse panes went silver. Magnolia by the gate stood pale. A painted bench beside the green, a watering can left its trail. The Botanical Garden at 4:30. The afternoon had nowhere else, only names on little labels, only petals near the door. Nothing hurried through the gravel, nothing asked for more. Only Copenhagen breathing softly at 4:30. The air had roots and elderflower, old soil and quiet shade. A gardener pulled a narrow latch where the potted citrus stayed. Beyond the iron frame, a bicycle bell grew small, and every path grew slower, the quietest place of all. A garden does not ask for wonder, it places wonder where one stands. The Botanical Garden at 4:30. Let the glass house hold the gold. Leaves kept breathing under silver, and the day grew quietly old. Elderflower tea by the window gave the glass a little steam. The linen curtain lifted once, then settled back to cream. The cup was blue around the rim, the saucer pale and thin, and morning came quietly in. Elderflower tea by the window made the room feel wide. Nothing asked for splendor, nothing had to hide. Only warmth above the porcelain, only pale light passing through, only Copenhagen breathing Nordic blue. A magnolia branch outside leaned softly near the pane. The street below moved slowly through its morning frame. A bicycle crossed the corner with a bell too light to stay, and the wooden floor kept every step of day. Some mornings are not brighter, they are only less severe. Elderflower tea by the window held the hour in place. Porcelain and linen and daylight, wearing one calm face. The canal took the afternoon slowly through the town. Blue-gray water held the houses in a wavering line. A little bridge crossed over with its iron cool and low, and sunlight leaned along the rail with nowhere else to go. The canal took the afternoon softly as it could. It carried roofs and open windows the way still water would. Nothing hurried past the water, nothing broke the view. Only quiet turning silver under Copenhagen blue. A cafe chair beside the water kept its shadow neat. A gull moved near the harbor, then went toward the white. A waiter folded tablecloths beside the lowering light, and bicycle bells grew smaller at the end of afternoon. Water can make a city remember how to slow. The canal took the afternoon with windows turned to gold and every little ripple made the quiet less cold. Pale wood chairs in the quiet café stood in patient rows under lamps of softened brass and windows tall and close. The baker placed a tray down with a careful little sound, while coffee warmed the counter and the morning came around. Pale wood chairs in the quiet cafe kept the morning clear. Nothing needed more than this: a cup, a plate, a chair. The room was not trying to be grand or new. It only let the daylight move quietly through. A newspaper lay open where the headlines lost their weight. A spoon beside the saucer rested small and straight. A magnolia near the doorway left its sweetness in the air. Outside, the gray street passed without needing to be there. Some beauty sits politely and asks for nothing more. Pale wood chairs in the quiet cafe held the softened day, and all the little ordinary things found a graceful way. Where the magnolia petals fell, the stone became less gray. They rested by the garden path and softened half the day. A bench beneath the branches caught a stripe of northern light. and every bloom above it stood composed and white. Where the magnolia petals fell, the afternoon grew mild, not bright enough for splendor, not fragile like a child, only white upon the pavement, only pink along the air, only beauty settling softly without asking to be there. A woman crossed the pathway with a basket from the store. A boy stood near his bicycle by the museum door. The flowers made no music, yet the square grew still, as if the old stone listened when the petals gathered near. A petal does not explain itself, it lowers and belongs. Where the magnolia petals fell, Copenhagen turned to cream, and the ordinary pavement held the softness of a dream. When Copenhagen kept the light, the tea room closed its door. A blue cup cooled against the glass, the steam already gone. The linen had been folded, the spoons returned to shine, and petals near the saucer made a quiet line. When Copenhagen kept the light, nothing had to stay. The tables gave back morning, the streets received the day. No grand farewell was needed, no shadow filled the view, only porcelain and water, and and stone turning blue. The bakery sign grew dimmer. The museum steps turned pale. A last bell crossed the corner, like a note too small to fade. Magnolia above the pavement held its blossoms almost still. The quiet of the gardens moved gently down the hill. Some places do not end the day they folded into light. When Copenhagen kept the light, the calm remained in view. The cup, the stone, the canal, and the petals turning blue.